So I will already give you what the payment is. Maybe just copy this part. The monthly payment of this in this scenario would be 185,000 minus the down payment. Always subtract the down payment, right? If you forget to do that, you're going to get the wrong answer. 640 over 1,000. So this part is usually not going to be required on a test quiz or even on an exam. They wouldn't want you to do this before you start your amortization table, because if you make a small mistake, the table will just be all wrong, right? So this is 1,024 is our monthly payment. So let's go and start our table. This payment never changes, so every month we're guaranteed to have the same table, the same payment. How do you find the interest paid? This is interest paid on your first month's payment. Do you remember that formula? It's lowercase I. It is unpaid balance or your mortgage at the very beginning times interest rate divided by 100, all of that divided by 12. You have to use that formula. If it's completely blank, you have no choice. If I had given you what the principal was of that payment, oh, just subtract your payment and the principal, you get the interest, right? But if it's completely blank, you have no choice but to use the formula. Let's fill in the unpaid balance here. I forgot to do that. The unpaid balance at the very beginning is 160,000. It's whatever we're left with after the down payment is our unpaid balance. Equity is how much of the house you own. I will tell you that after this example, I will not require you to do that part. But remember, equity is how much of the house you actually own. So let's do our interest. Interest would be 160,000. What's the interest rate divided by 100? It's 6% divided by 100, right? So that's 0.06. All of that divided by 12. So let's come up with that. 160,000 times 0.06 divided by 12. $800 even. So once you have your payment and your interest, to figure out how much of your payment is principal, like goes towards paying off your loan, is 1,024 minus 800. $224. So this is what brings down what you owe them. So after the first month, you owe slightly less, just slightly. What do you think is going to happen to your equity? Over time, it goes up, right? Guys, equity, how much you own in the house, goes up as you're paying it off. How much is it going to go up by? Guess what? It's going to go up by $224 in this case. So it's $25,224. So that principal brought down your unpaid balance. It brought up your equity. And now I will say at the top here, on top of equity, because the province has never done this, but I like you to think of it that way, that So that's the optional column, right? So if it's on an AC or whatever, you don't want to do it, I'm fine with that. Let's do one more month. This is the first month. I don't want to just, like, I don't want you to just copy this blindly, okay? I want you to know this. What are you doing here, guys? What is this? What's happening here? You're breaking down your monthly payment, which is fixed. You're breaking it down into the two components that make up your payment. So the very first month, $800 is interest. Bye-bye, you'll never see that again. And only $224 goes towards actually paying off what you owe them. That's why it takes so long to pay it off, okay? Let's take this number with us again here. So now the unpaid balance is $159,776. We still multiply it by 6%. We divide it by 12. I happen to have this number on my calculator still. So times 0.06 divided by 12, 798.88. So not a whole lot less, but it did go down by a bit. Now take this away from your payment. So I'm going to go minus 1,024. So I know that it's $225.12. Okay. Subtract 225.12. That gives me 159,550.88. And whatever you subtracted, you can add that. You own this much more, $225 more of your house now. $25,449.12. If you feel like you want to do this one more time, I'll give you the number here at the. I'll give you the number here, so you can check that. That would be $159,324.63. You should always be able to, okay? You should always be able to check, like, okay, let's see if I did this right. If I add these two up, what should I get? I should get my payment. If I subtract the two unpaid balances, if I subtract these, I should get the principal, right? Like, these are connected by the principal. And so that's how this works. Like, those are the inner workings of this table here. You want to try one? I know you love to try, I know. Can you go to 73? You don't need to use any formulas here, you just need to know how it works. Can you give it a go and just fill in those empties there? Just put something down. You need a calculator, right, to figure that out. But this is something that you're more likely to find on an exam or even my tests, okay? So please check that out. Try it. I'm trying to help you to see things maybe that aren't there at first. But if you have the payment and one of these two, you just have to subtract and you get the blank, right? The problem is if they're both blank. That's when it gets a little trickier. So then your goal is going to be like, well, where can I go? That's where you're going to want to go here to figure that one, to get you this one. But let's do this first. If you subtract here, you get 280. Okay, so essentially go 1200 minus 920. You get 280. Perfect. Done. Here, blank blank, you can't do anything with the payment and subtracting here because they're both blank, so we got to go between these two. So how about this? Right? If you subtract them, if you subtract these two amounts, you get 281 and 34 cents. The key is to subtract. Because remember, this number is always what we use to subtract here and get down to this number. So that means that the difference between these two has to be the principal. Once you have this, subtract it from your payment to figure out the rest, right? So I will actually go 1200 minus 281.34, and that is 918.66. Boom, that row is done. Go for one further down. You've got your payment, you've got the principal. In this case, you can just subtract the two and get your answer there. That's 915.96. One more thing you should observe is that your interest will go down over time because you owe less and less. Your principal should therefore go up. Okay, because the less interest you pay, the more of your payment is therefore going to go towards the principal, towards actually paying off your loan. Okay, one last step here is you got to go minus 284.04. That is what, 191,154.62. What's the original mortgage amount? What would you have to do there to get to like the original amount you owed? You go this number plus 280. Like that'll get you to the ultimate unpaid balance. So I'll go 191,720 plus 280. So ultimately, it was at the very beginning $192,000. I'll leave the rest. Okay, the rest we'll just leave. So that's amortization tables review.